Hi, I'm director James Wan. Welcome to Talking Fast. A feature where you get a driver's seat view into some of the key moments from the film. It's up close, very personal, and full throttle. Yeah! So if you're ready, I think we should start at the beginning. Here we go. So I'm new to this franchise, and I knew from the very start that I wanted to make my impact be seen with this really amazing new character that Jason Statham plays. And the chance to work with Jason at this level, because he's new to the franchise as well. So between the two of us, we knew we wanted to make an impact. We wanted to make a statement that we're here and we're proud of this, and we really want to blow people away. You get it. One of the things I wanted to do with his opening sequence is to kind of start up pretty mellow, right? Kind of lull the audience into thinking, things are kind of calm and quiet. So I start off with an opening shot, okay, of London.
I used to think that was bollocks.
Right, so the camera pulls back from London to reveal Jason. He turns around and he's talking to someone off camera. We're not quite sure who it is first, then the camera pans with him, right, and we reveal it is Owen Shaw, the main bad guy from the previous film, from number 6. And so here we establish Jason's relationship with this particular character. It's his brother.
Risk now, little brother.
And he makes a blood vow.
I'll sell you one last score.
He will destroy anyone who hurt his brother. It is as simple as that. That, to me, sets the theme that runs throughout the entire movie.
Take care of my brother.
It is about protecting family.
Didn't hams to him. Come back looking for you.
I wanted this to be something that you remember. I wanted you to look at this opening scene and kind of go, you know what? This is someone new to this franchise, and this is where this franchise now is going to go on a whole different level. I wanted to design a sequence where after Jason says his piece to his brother, the camera's going to pull back with him, and we see it like this. Camera pulls back with him, and to do it all in one shot where we follow Statham from his brother's room out of this hospital. And the reason why one shot without cutting it up is I feel like the camera work there reflects the state of mind that Statham is in. He's so focused. It sets up his motivation for the rest of the movie to destroy Dominic Toretto and the rest of his gang, and that's all he cares about. We step into an elevator, and this elevator was designed, check this out, was designed basically as a set piece that could be rotated into another section of the set, so that way it feels like it's one seamless move where we travel from like the 7th floor, whatever it is, all the way down to the ground floor, and along the way, you discover this massive destruction, okay? And what we wanted to do is to reinforce how badass his character is. And you see now the force and power and how good this guy is and what it took him to come into this military hospital to see his brother and say goodbye to him. I think there's nothing cooler than an introduction like that that shows how awesome, how tough this antagonist is gonna be.
Hold this.
So now check this out. This is really Jason walking by an explosion that's happening behind him. My direction to him is, when you do this, do not blink, because that's gonna make you look so tough if you don't blink with this huge explosion going on behind you. Check this out.
Ready? Let's roll video and action!
And this one shot leads us out of the hospital. We see the entire destruction in this place. And then the camera pans away with him as he drives away, and we got this guy, and we see it on cut yet at this point, and then we turn upside down, and now we come into sunny California, the desert of California, and then we pan with the cars, and it introduces us to Dom and Letty. And I feel like that was such a cool way to take us from London, where we left off in the last movie, and now we come back home to California.
Come on, Dom, so where are you taking me?
And check this out from the race war scene.
The return to Race Wars in the desert was really awesome because I got to see what kind of a monster this franchise has turned into. From this little movie that we didn't think that anybody would care about 14 years ago, into this global entity that travels around the world and is loved by hundreds of millions of people. And I think that that's so beautiful. And I got to see that when we shot the race war sequence through the extras that were involved and the people that showed up and how excited they were to be in the Fast and Furious film. You know, a lot of the extras were there because they actually love the franchise and it's part of their lives. For me, shooting Race Wars, the sequence, was a reminder of that world and how much it's grown. And I think that in this sequence, when she freaks out from the crowd and has a panic attack of sorts and knocks out the Noelle character from Fast 1. It's the seed being planted at this moment. It's not gonna be a smooth walk into the sunset with these two.
Damn, dog. Girl still got that swing, homie.
You never could take a punch, Hector.
They're gonna go through some tough patches.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Hector.
One of the great things for me stepping into this franchise was being able to revisit pivotal scenes and locations from the previous films and tie it all together in a brand new way.
And let's roll sound.
Establishing Letty's mindset early on about her relationship with Dom was key. There is a lot of history between these two characters. So for the cemetery scene, it was great watching how they brought all of that history with them into their performance. Let's check it out.
I think the craziest part for Letty is losing her memory. This scene in the cemetery is Letty basically looking at the Dom character and saying that she's a ghost of a person. And the sentiment behind it is, you know, what's a human without memories? That's the date I lost my memory. That's the date that Letty died, and I was born. What are we really if we don't have this collection of experiences together to share? And knowing this entire team or family of friends risk their lives to save hers, and she understands that there's a loyalty there. She understands that this is her family and loves them. But, you know, it's really, really rough for somebody to live a life where you have no memories of any of the wonderful times that you shared together. She may remember how to drive cars and fight, and she recalls these motor skills that, you know, are intuitive. But at the end of the day, the most frustrating aspect is looking in somebody's eyes and not having this flood of beautiful memories with this person that you love truly. It's frustrating, especially when they talk about moments of the past.
The Toretto House is such an iconic location for this franchise. I love that we were able to bring it back for this film, but I almost feel guilty for blowing it up. Hey, what can I say? I know it meant a lot to the actors who have called it home over all these years, especially Jordana Brewster.
The Toretto House is definitely a piece of Fast and Furious history, and every time we get to revisit it, it's always the garage and the house and the backyard where all the barbecues are. That's all one location, which is pretty special. In some ways, it hasn't changed at all because the house is there, it's intact. The little market where I sold Brian his tuna fish sandwich, that's still there. Different memories come flooding back. Like I was like, oh, that's where Letty came down the stairs, and that's where I shot the scene with Brian, where I was washing the dishes and he came to hit on me, and it's just a really fun little piece of history. Yeah! It was very bittersweet this time around because I knew it might be the last time we were shooting there. Vin and I just sat and talked for a while and sort of reminisced because we were there after 15 years. We were back shooting there and kind of come full circle. So it's kind of amazing. Sometimes the locations in Fast and Furious aren't exactly what they seem. It was pretty awesome in Furious 7 because we shot some scenes in LA that were supposed to be shot in Dominican Republic. And this was this like beautiful palatial estate in Malibu. And it was the hideout where Mia goes with Jack. Kind of amazing how well it doubled for DR. It was movie magic at its best. And the other thing that worked out kind of last minute was Romeo Santos playing Mondo. And I remember he flew in that day. He had a massive concert the night before. He had another concert that night for like thousands and thousands of people. And yet he was nervous about, like, you know, acting with me on set and getting his lines right and hitting his mark and working with James Wan. And I thought that was so cool because to me it would be so much, you know, more frightening to be in front of a giant audience and to be a huge superstar. But we helped each other through it, and he did an awesome job.
Han said you was fast, but not that damn fast.
The necklace is something that evolved from Fast and Furious 4. And Vin, relentless as he is in wanting to keep me alive in the franchise, he used the necklace in 5 to kind of like start the storyline of bringing Letty back. And so the necklace has been playing ping pong back and forth from Fast and Furious 4 to Fast and Furious 5, where Letty wasn't even a character in the film until the tag ending. Did you know I didn't even know that was a tag ending in 5 until I went to the theater in Paris and I saw the movie? And I'm like, I'm in it. Thanks for the phone call, Vin. He's like, I told you so. Fast 6, you know, there was the return of the necklace. It created a sentimental value. So much so that like now it's like part of the franchise. It's like that necklace represents love, the unbreakable bond between two street lovers.
So here I have these two huge action stars. And the next sequence I want to talk about is the sequence where the antagonist and the protagonist, Vin's character and Statham's character, comes to a head, literally.
Action, Vin!
When they first meet each other, they're facing off in this underground tunnel. I thought this was a very important sequence for us to introduce Statham's character and Vin's character and how they first meet. The first time they meet has to be explosive. And the way we did that is like this. So they're facing off like a classic Western showdown. But instead of standing there with the horse or their gun, the car is their gun and their horse. Neither one is willing to back down, and you just know where this scene's about to lead to. They're gonna rev their engines and they're gonna go for it. And these guys are so badass and so tough that they're gonna drive towards each other and smash, and that is the way we were gonna introduce the two of them. So this game of chicken took place in Los Angeles, but was actually shot in Atlanta. And check this out. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to make it explosive as I could when they first collide with each other, and we did a lot of pyrotechnics in this sequence. We had two vehicles basically tied on tracks along the floor that the cars would just ride along looking like this. And what we do then is we have like series of basically cables that pull the car towards each other to get the head-on collision. And we would have dummies in the vehicles that later, in visual effects, we would tweak to make additional sort of glass exploding everywhere, but the actual collision was really done practical on location. So, smash first, then speak later. And that's exactly what this sequence is right now. They get out of their vehicles, and then they start their dialogue.
Never should have messed with a man's family.
You're right. In fact, I told your brother the same thing.
There's nothing cooler than the two of them coming head to head, and just when you think this is about to come in an end, but we know better than that because this is only the start of the film, the confrontation there is cut short by this group of military guys that comes from out of nowhere, rappel down like these guys here.
On the ground!
And it is within this sequence that we finally introduce Kurt Russell, a living legend.
Mr. Toretto,
Who the hell are you?
I'm Mr. Nobody.
What we find out in this sequence is he is a military character from the sort of shadowy CIA underworld. We don't quite know what he is or what he does or who he works for.
By the way, I can get you Deckard Shaw.
We know he's here to try and enlist Dom and his team on the mission that he needs him to partake in.
But this right here, my friend, happens to be the stupidest idea I've ever heard of in my life.
The scene in Patty's workshop was fun because it gave Roman a moment to try to assert himself as an alpha dog. And he was so excited because he got to work with Kurt Russell. Check this out.
The scene where I'm around the table and I'm telling Dom that I wanted to take the lead and take over. It was great. I loved it. I'm not a follower. This time, I lead. Seriously, if I don't start making decisions, I'm out. I'm tired of listening to him. He thinks that because his voice is deeper than mine, that he just gets to boss everybody around.
All right, Roman. What do you got?
You know, that was one of my favorite scenes because that was also the first scene I ever did with Kurt Russell.
You know, reading your file, I was impressed with what you've accomplished with your team, but meeting them now, I gotta say, Dom, you've truly got a gift. Keep working at it.
I don't really know if I could ever have as much dialogue as Kurt Russell had in this movie and just like be able to memorize it like that. Like that was crazy. And he was charming. You know, he's got his little dimples in his face. So he's, you know, all that dialogue, man. We love you, Kurt. Thank you for joining us. And in the Fast family, hope you come back.
Oh yeah, here we go, game time.
Rolling.
Action!
We really shot the scene flying out the back of the airplane in Atlanta. What I loved about the scene is that we all were actually in the back of a plane.
Action!
Even though we were indoors and we never were physically on an airplane, it all looks like we were. And I told them that I didn't mind being scared because I like Roman Pierce to be the voice of reality.
And I'll give you whatever it does for along the way.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Just make it fun.
No problem. They put us inside of this rig. It was really tall, and it was almost like a Magic Mountain ride, you know? It was like really, it shakes you up crazy and really makes you feel like you're in danger. And I could not finish my peanut butter and jelly with milk because that damn gimbal messed me up.
A lot of the stuff that we would like that would make the movie more thrilling or make this sequence more exciting requires visual effects shots to help me gel moments together. And so I could not have pulled this sequence off if it weren't for the visual effects team. They were incredible with what they did. They stepped up to the plate and they showed us seamless effects work that helped me to achieve my vision to take it to that next level that I needed it to be at. One of the great joys on this film was being able to shoot in Abu Dhabi. The scenery was spectacular and the people made us feel so welcome. And I know that feeling I had was shared by the rest of the cast and crew as well.
Man, filming in Abu Dhabi was amazing. This is a place where you see supercars like you see regular cars here in the United States of America. It was like a dream come true. I mean, this is a place where you just have so many individuals and it's just so inspiring to see not only the architecture there, but just the amount of resources and just the amount of money and people spending money in this place. And there was no better place to take this franchise and this movie than to go to Abu Dhabi.
We're in Abu Dhabi. It's a whole
Man, I love the people, I love the food, I love the integrity, I love everything, the culture, and of course, I love the money.
Action!
One of the funnest things was the party scene. I really had fun with that.
All right, this is our first take, people. I like the improv scene in the penthouse suite. That was a lot of fun. Just the freedom to explore and find funny in the room.
We're so happy for you to be here. You look like you got some missiles underneath that dress. No?
Here's the truth, man. That scene right there.
Oh, there he is. These your dancers? This is a party, baby.
In front of all them people, the hairspray.
Some of y'all probably went to the bathroom and noticed that all the hairspray was missing.
That was all improv, off the top of the head.
Yep. He did it. Thank you.
I hate your hat. You in the back? Yeah.
I just had to find some funny stuff.
You about to really, you about to do it, huh? I'm running out of words. Somebody better say cut. God damn, it's crazy. It's still going. Yeah, so we're gonna keep it going.
I'm very grateful to the director, James Wan, who just let me freestyle and just have a moment because we were trying to find something funny.
I just got out of jail 2 hours ago. They bring me here with naked gold people.
They had to chop some of that stuff out because it got real.
I met you with your boyfriend earlier. His breath is some of the worst breath I've ever smelled in my life. Yeah, I called him out your mouth. I need him to stay away from all H words. Believe me. Hi, how are you? How's everything going? Yeah, he was killing me.
He did not just, did you just say that? So that's what happened in Abu Dhabi in that scene. It was all off the top of the head and we had a good damn time.
Hey, my man, let's go.
So here we are at the cement factory. This sequence is a big turning point in the film. This is the low point, I should say, in the movie where the characters, they think they already have the upper hand because they now have the God's eyes device where they've used to hunt down and track down Shaw. And with Kurt Russell and the team, with Paul and Vin, they've gone on this journey. They've gone through the whole movie basically to come to this point.
And action!
They've hunted down the bad guy and now they're about to, take him out, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it is within this moment that we find out that our villain, our antagonist, is actually a really smart guy. He's always one step ahead of everyone. And what he has done is he's reached out to the people that our heroes ticked off a little bit during the Azerbaijan mountain assault sequence. And he says in the movie, this classic line,
You ever heard a saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Well, I got a lot of friends.
And what you realize here is he's recruited Jaimon Hansu's character to come and help him fight this battle during the sequence. And so this scene ends up being this crazy cacophony of gunfights where the lights have been blown off and it's all shot in darkness and red lights. And when Jaimon's character, Jakande, shows up with Tony Jaa and the rest of his team, they basically proceed to wipe out all our heroes and soldiers. And this sequence that went from being a triumphant moment for our heroes become a very dark moment where now they're fighting for their lives and they have to get the heck out of there. And it was a really cool sequence for me to shoot because it allowed me to have fun with the gunfights and it allowed me to showcase some of the crazy stuff that Tony Jaa can do. He's jumping and rolling and then onto the catwalk. And then also within this sequence, finally Kurt Russell gets to have a little moment of fun. We get to showcase this great action star that he has been, the movies that we all grew up with. And so he put on these infrared goggles that he can see, in the dark, and he carries these two guns that he wanted to play with where he can just pick off the bad guys one after one, almost like a classic Western hero that he played in Escape from New York. And so that was really fun to direct Kurt Russell in an action sequence.
Cut!
I really need to step up my game in the action scenes, and the chance to play with all the toys was incredible. And check this out.
So nowadays, drones are becoming really popular, but this particular movie, we take the drone experience to a whole nother level. This drone is shooting at us, we're trying to get away from it, and, we're kind of at a disadvantage when you have a drone flying in the sky and it's a remote control, and it's extremely intense scene.
They've cut the connection. I can't finish the hack.
You have Tyrese driving, which he's the worst driver in the world. He's talking too much and not focusing on keeping us alive.
First a tank, then the plane. Now we got a spaceship?
I think you guys will be able to relate to my character.
Shut your ass up and drive the car.
And here we are, the final showdown between Statham's character and Vin's character. One of the things I knew coming into this movie was how much expectation there was from the fans, from the audience, about wanting to see a movie where Jason Statham and Vin Diesel go head to head. Right? They fight each other in a big, big way. And I knew I cannot let them down here. I remembered meeting with Vin very early on and pitching him the sequence. I said, Vin, what if like the final fight sequence between your character and Deckard Shaw's character is something like the classic Filipino martial arts where they fight each other with sticks? And I remember Vin said to me, he goes, oh my God, James, that is incredible. But what if we do it more in the Fast and Furious way? Instead of using sticks, what if Dominic Toretto reaches into his car like this and pulls up wrenches, big giant wrenches, and Shaw picks up pipes and whatever debris he could from his smashed car, and they start going at each other that way. I didn't want to kind of film the fight scene in the typical traditional way. One of the things that I wanted to do was to basically have the camera work be part of the action scene as well. I like to mount my camera onto whatever crazy action that's going on at that point. I wanted to bring the audience close in and just do something fun that we haven't quite seen before. See how far I can push it when Vin punches Statham's character and he flies through the air, lands on the ground, and rolls. I wanted the camera to roll with him as well. So I tried to do lots of these little camera tricks to try and put my own personal stamp, my personal filmmaking into this particular film. I feel like we're doing a lot of really exciting things, really groundbreaking things too. For all the action fans up there, they're gonna see action that they're not familiar with or haven't quite seen in this particular series.
The stunt guys really are the ones that have all the fun. In that tunnel sequence specifically, there was a lot of action, there was a lot of explosions, and it felt very realistic.
Roll, please, rolling!
I did the post drive-up sequence, and that alone, with all the effects, is really, really overwhelming. Because you get to feel the flame from the explosions, and you get to feel the explosions. When I got into this business, I thought that when you make these action movies, you get to do all this really cool stuff. But those guys in stunts, man, I really gotta say, out of the whole crew, the Splinter unit has the most fun. Those guys get to destroy all the cars, they get to blow up an ambulance, watch it drop from off a bridge, be chased. They get to get hit with these little studs that explode inside the car. It's just so realistic, man. I mean, you're getting shot at and all these effects, the special effects team is amazing. Every beautiful scene full of action, those are the guys who get to enjoy all of it. We get to ride up, and you know what I mean? It's like, oh, they have so much fun.
What people love about these films are the characters. Check this out.
The wedding sequence was a really cool kicker. We shot it in a church at a cemetery. This is what happens when you shoot with a horror film director, James Wan. We loved that scene. We thought it was very, very special. We were trying to cram our heads and try to think about what were the most impactful moments that Dom and Letty could have had. And it just seemed so beautiful. The idea that they snuck off together and married each other behind everybody's back. I think it's so typical of their personalities, you know, as characters. They have this relationship where it's like, I love you, but don't send me, you know, a Valentine's Day card or give me flowers, because that would just be cheesy. They like to show their love in a very crude fashion. You've got these two individuals who just are incomplete without each other. And that's so rare. Even to have two individuals that are willing to give their lives for each other. It's just such a beautiful thing. And we've got 14 years of history together. So for us, both as actors and embodying these characters that we love so much for so many years, you will never be alone again. It was really, really special to see them get married.
And here we are. We've arrived at the final scene of this film. It's a scene that is very important to all of us involved in this film. And we know how important it is as well for all the audience and fans out there to get the chance to be able to say goodbye to Paul one last time. And this scene really allows us to sum up our feelings, emotions, and how we all feel about Paul with this final beach sequence. The characters are sitting around, talking amongst themselves, but ultimately, you know, watching Paul play with his family and how happy and joyous he is. And we knew from day one that we wanted to give Paul a happy farewell, that we sent him off in a very honorable way and one that would celebrate his life and that would celebrate his involvement in this particular franchise. And there was nothing more befitting than to actually use Paul Walker's own vehicle, his own personal car that he loved, to be in as we sent him off into the sunset at the very end of the film. In the final few shots, Vin and Paul are driving right next to each other, and then they're looking and smiling at one another. We flash away to all these different shots from this particular franchise, and we get to see how far Paul has come from the very first Fast and Furious movie all the way to Fury 7, and how much he has grown and how much us as the audience and fans have grown to love this man. And to be able to send Paul off into the sunset meant the whole world to me. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming with us on this ride, and we'll see you on the next one.
Only two things keep a group like this together: fear or loyalty. And I don't see a drop of fear among you guys.
In this film, everything comes together. Looks like the sins of London have followed us home. Questions are answered, and the stakes have been raised.
The pressure each time we come back is really, really hard.
Cutting.
It's got to be better, or I'm not sure why we should continue.
Are you ready? I know you're ready.
It feels really good when you build rapport with people and the studio can call franchise members back and just share this journey together.
Did you bring the cavalry?
Woman, I am the cavalry.
When you have a franchise that is incredibly successful, like Fast and Furious, you are consistently being challenged to get better and do better, creatively do better. So everyone comes to the table with the notion of, well, how can we be better?
Daddy's got to go to work.
That's really part of the challenge because each one keeps superseding the last one in terms of how the fans respond worldwide.
Now we got a spaceship? That's not a spaceship, that's a drone!
I have 100% stopped trying to figure out how this franchise is gonna get bigger and bigger. It has far exceeded my own expectations, and I definitely am very blessed to be a part of it.
Can't touch this.
Part of the trick here is to give the spectacles that the audiences have come to expect, but at the same time, still retain what it is about the characters that people love about them.
See, now we talk. It feels good to work on something where it feels like people are waiting, you know, and anticipating. That's a part of our motivation to make it as special as we can.
As big as we get, as big as our budgets get, we never forget where we came from, which was a $28 million grounded film about characters you really care about.
One last ride.
B-Mark.
When we're putting these movies together, the first thing we do is take a look at what's at stake for the family. It is Vin, and it's Neil, and it's Kirsch, and it's me, and it's a lot of people. It's all the actors, it's everybody, and it's one of those fun sessions where you're just sitting there and then something magic kind of happens.
Don't. Stop.
Increasing the emotional stakes
It's telling the truth.
is what will set the saga apart from any other movie. The emotional heartbeat of the movie is something that everyone is invested in.
That's the date that I lost my memory. That's the date that Letty died.
That evolutionary process is something that we talk a lot about. And one of the beautiful perks of being part of a franchise and having a rapport with people for as long as 14 years, you have this wonderful ability to communicate and give your input.
Most of the times we have too many stories to tell, and it's just about whatever the most emotional storyline is at that point. We just try and follow whatever is the most heightened.
He put you in his grave. So now I'll do the same to him. It was imperative to introduce the next villain in a way that automatically affected you emotionally. That the villain, in essence, taken something away from you.
You don't know me. You're about to.
If people thought Luke Evans' character was dangerous in Fast 6, they have another thing coming for him, man. Jason Statham, the word dangerous doesn't even apply. I don't think there's a word in the dictionary.
I'm not a villain. I'm putting 2 feet down and saying, who done this to my brother? And if you did, you need to answer to me. So it's just about setting things straight, and it's about standing up for your family. You never should have messed with a man's family.
I told your brother the same thing. I went on Facebook and I asked book fans, who would you like to see me work with? And the glaring name was Jason Statham, more than the next 3 combined.
What you get with Jason is you get a guy who wants to come on, he's all about the work and he's all about the scene, and let's make this incredible.
The idea of this sort of triangle between these 3 really badass guys is super cool. And I do think that Jason really gives his character so much dimension.
This is it. This is all I want. I didn't want to kill indiscriminately. I want to have laser focus with what I did and didn't do. Because at the end of the day, you know, I'm tactically trained. So in a way, I'm a little bit 1 step ahead of these fools. I got a lot of friends.
You know, there's some cool characters that come in and out of the franchise, and I'm always excited to meet them and to watch them in action.
We spend a lot of time thinking about who fits into this world of Fast and Furious.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Mr. Nobody.
Be with us.
I'm gonna have a beer.
Kurt Russell, I mean, come on. He's the man. I love his attitude. He's just got swag, you know what I mean?
I like it.
And I think that the franchise has done a really good job of picking out people in the industry with some swag.
You know,
I don't drive. Like, this is really embarrassing. I've just never got around to, like, taking my test. But it is funny also that my character doesn't drive in the movies, too, and it kind of works out well, seeing as I don't have my license.
It was just good to have some femininity and smell some perfume occasionally, you know, instead of deep voices and beards.
Give us the girl, and I'll let you live.
Diamond's just the nicest guy in the world, but he has this intimidation with very few words.
3!
I was quite excited about coming on board and playing Mosi Chikande, the mercenary.
2!
He's a very powerful character, very driven.
1!
And will not stop at anything.
Fire!
Tony Jaa is maybe the most amazing athlete I've ever seen in my life. He did things, running, jumping, flipping, with such ease.
My character is strong. Professional. Action. That's my character. Badass.
We've always had a history of bringing people into the franchise. Every time somebody else pops up and just adds a whole other dimension that we never had before.
The keys to pull it off. So I would go reveal the car, and I'll almost jump cut to you just going like that.
When you see this movie, you see a new director's approach to it and a style that's reflective of this new director.
Give me like, yeah! Yeah! Yes! Hell yeah!
I'm a fan of the franchise first and foremost, and the chance to make a movie like this outside of the genre that I'm generally known for was very exciting for me. And the idea of playing in a playground as big as this one was super cool.
When I first came to the set, I was pretty excited to meet James Wan because he's James Wan, so it's hard not to be impressed with him. We kind of were the new kids on the block, which was really great.
Yeah, that's really the main beat that I want. So, I wouldn't mind just a little bit at the head, just you struggling like you've just been thrown on there.
He stepped in to the 7th in a franchise of a giant budgeted movie. It's just a difficult proposition to come into, and then on top of it, to lose a member of your family in the middle of it was horribly devastating. Paul is a family member here. We all got together and we were very honest and looked at each other and said, well, what would he want? That was the big question. Do you finish it? And everyone believed it. In the bottom of their hearts, like, he would want it.
This one matters the most because we lost a dear and great friend, Mr. Paul Walker, and we're gonna carry on his legacy the way he would have wanted us to, period. He is the original Fast and Furious.
We all knew Paul, we all were close to him, and it was a responsibility that I carried with a great deed of pride because it's gonna give people an opportunity to still have fun while they're thinking about what we're all thinking about, which is our brother.
You know, you get to say goodbye to somebody very, very special. And I think that it started with one intention and it ended with another. And I think all the fans are just gonna feel good that there's a respect there. And I think that that's what's gonna be special about this one. All the fans get to say goodbye.
That support and that sense of family that exists in the film actually bleeds off screen, and the whole world somehow gets to feel a part of that family. I don't have friends. I got family.
Fans really do care about what happens to Dom and Brian and Mia and Letty and all our characters.
Let's get mama. Yeah! In the heart of it, what these films are about family and sticking together as family, I think has stayed very true all the way, and it's something that we hope to continue for a long time.
This is crazy!
Hey, buddy. Cars don't fly.
Hey, cars don't fly.
The audience has seen just about everything with all of our fast films, so we really kind of brainstorm amongst all of us to try and figure out what we can do that's different and interesting that will wow the audience.
So we sit down and talk about it and go, how are we going to top the next one?
The very first stunt sequence that I designed was our heroes parachuting out of the back of a plane in their cars, and at the very last minute, break their parachute and then rescue this particular character.
The sequence is so fun. Because it's a team effort, you've got the Roman character and the Tez character there to bring that humor into this.
Tez! What are you doing? Wow! Wow!
It's pretty cool.
Day one, when Sparrow and I were called in to do second unit, they were discussing cars coming out of a C-130.
What they didn't really realize was there were so many factors that are more complicated than probably any other sequence I've shot.
So we definitely want to be low enough to see the chute opening in front of us. Right on.
A number of people came up and said, well, people have thrown cars out of a C-130 before. So we knew it could be done.
But how do you get cars coming out of an airplane that you can't control completely?
Oh my God, look at that.
And have helicopters and crew and people down below and be 3 feet away from them and shoot them and do it exciting and safely.
And so that was the R&D part of it, trying to figure out how to get all these cars out of the C-130 together with guys in the air with it and make them drop flat. Every single car that we dropped fell differently. And even though some of them were a little front heavy and some of them were back heavy, the weird thing is if you rolled the windows up, they tended to start stabilizing themselves. Because when we first set the cars out with no drogue chute, they're free falling at 175. And so the skydivers could never catch them. They had to be a part of the car when it went out. So he said, you guys grab onto the cars. Just run out with them and grab onto it so that its first initial drop, when it's gaining its terminal velocity, you're with it. And that was the key element that made it all work. The operators we have were all from the Red Bull jump team, and they were all very good at knowing which is up and which is down pretty quickly, and then just fixing the car in the way that we need it and then getting away from it, because you can't hold on to the car and shoot it like that. You have to push the car away from you to get the wide shot that we need.
And then James saw what we did, saw what the angles of the car were, and just seamlessly dropped it in.
Woo! Now we're moving.
I worked with my really incredible second unit director, Spiro, to tie it all together and try and make it cohesive.
He had these great rigs that Dan built for first unit, and they were gimbals that were 15, 20 feet off the ground. So he had Dom's car in the air, and it could tilt way down like this and move around and turn. And they started with the camera car 200 yards away and flying in at speed as this car is starting to drop like this and comes around, goes around it, and this car is turning like this, and you come all the way in and you're in on Vin. And it cuts so great with the footage we have.
The gimbal work is amazing. I was so jealous of Tyrese being in that rig.
Let's make a movie, people.
It's just like riding in a roller coaster backwards. I mean, who wants to do that? Okay, now I'm nervous.
I wanted to be tumbled about like I'm inside of a washing machine.
Oh, again! Oh!
I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Out of the 4 cars, we lost 2 of them because of winds.
The parachute didn't get away from the car, so we're getting a call, you know, hey, this car's not stopping and it's heading towards the freeway. We got it, but that one was something that got our hearts pumping a little bit.
The airdrop sequence, we did it in 2 parts.
After these cars come out of the airplane, they land on top of a mountain with one road.
Letty's gonna lead, followed by Ted. As they glide down, they're never gonna hit the ground. They just come to a stop and we pull them back to number 1.
The big issue was they had to be real cars. We want the cars running in the air, and when they pull the release, this thing's gonna drop 10 or 12 feet out of the air, hit the ground, and take off and spin the tires. So Dan Sudik, our effects coordinator, came up with this trolley idea where he starts one crane very, very high up in the air, and then we pull the car all the way to the very top, which is almost 180, 200 feet up, and I was the first one to test it. So he trips the cable, I start gaining speed coming down this trolley, and as it bows out, then he trips the second one and it drops 12 feet and hits the ground, and I gas it up when we go through, and I thought, my God, this actually worked.
He designed the Slide for Life for 4 of our hero cars, and huge cranes that we had to put in at Pikes Peak and slide these cars down, and then we'd release them, bounces one time, and they'd hit the road and go. By building a rig like this and doing it this way, it's just such a cool look on film. It's something you just don't ever see. I mean, I'm parachuting car and then releasing and dropping and then starting chasing. And then we had 4 of them doing it.
I said very early on that this sequence will end up being a great trailer moment. And sure enough, it's in the first trailer.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, great, fantastic, awesome.
Car check, call it in.
Check.
Check, I'm good, let's do this.
In the Azerbaijan mountain sequence, our heroes hit the ground and just go chasing after their target.
Ramsey will be in the bus.
Trying to have real stunt people going down a mountainside that is safe, and then getting cameras there and operators. I mean, there's so much going on.
And we have to move on, please.
Pikes Peak is 14,000 feet high, and we were shooting almost at the very top at points.
They're at very high altitude, so they had the whole oxygen deficiency thing.
People get very lightheaded, and cars don't run right, and helicopters don't run right, and you just don't have the oxygen to make those things work.
It was challenging. You just walk upwards for 10 seconds and you're lightheaded and you're like, whoa.
Welcome, anytime.
Are you winded?
Anytime.
Are you tired?
So our good guys are all dropping in their cars right behind this bus that is carrying this person that has this technology they need. And they have to figure out a way to get them off the bus.
The stunts, the effects, the explosions, we did everything practical.
And they go racing down this mountain, breakneck speed, trying to catch up to the convoy. And they just go hauling ass right towards the back of this bus.
All right, formation.
That's so much fun. Designing the battering ram of the cars all lining up and plowing through the bad guys to get to the main bus.
When we did it. I actually thought about tying them together, and they all really wanted to do it themselves, and they did it. And it looks so much better being free because you saw that. The fighting and the car getting sideways and really controlling it, even though we had the means to chain them together and just drive down the street. In retrospect, it wouldn't have looked as good. Ow! Brian and Tej drive up to the side of the bus and plant explosives. And Dom and Letty fire harpoons into the back of the bus. Instead of stopping them or going through a window, we blow the entire back of the bus off. And rip it off the back. Now we have a whole opening where we can get to our person. So he saves her by just pushing her. We did that with the stunt double. On the bus we had an overhead wire, so we couldn't lose her, but it's all her. And it's a hard hit. As soon as she hits the hood of the car, here comes our bad guy Shaw. Spiro was adamant about this first hit being a big hit.
Then our heroes go off-road, which was something that we've never seen before in this particular franchise. Seeing cars going off crazy terrain was really exciting. I remember Chris Morgan pitching to me that sequence and saying that it should feel like this speeder bike sequence in Return of the Jedi. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be amazing.
Working on the side of a mountain, we were sending cars with people in them down a mountain, hitting ramps and stuff.
That was a tough location because the weather was really harsh.
We had a storm that was one of the worst storms in at least 100 years, and we got shut down for a few days. Snow day! It was one of those uh-oh moments, like, oh, is this gonna be a tough road?
You'd come out in the morning, there'd be 2 feet of snow on the cars. Batteries don't operate as well in those temperatures. Fuel doesn't atomize as well in those temperatures, so there's some little drivability issues.
You just never knew when you were gonna get hail and when you were gonna get snow and freezing temperatures, and everything came to this big head at one point where we said, guys, we have to shut down. We can't really shoot in this kind of weather until it clears up. And then Spiro would go, I'm not stop shooting, I'll go down 4 miles and we'll shoot down there. And so we'd move the whole pack down to the bottom.
Highlights for me was designing the brine bus sequence.
We did everything from squibs on a car to flipping cars down mountainsides. We can have everybody doing all this stuff, but can this bus practically drive at speeds down these mountain roads? I called Mike Ryan. He is the one that races the actual tractor trucks down Pikes Peak. So I knew that if anybody could do it, it would be him. He went and found a way, did it, and not only that, he was also able to flip it. So when we flipped the bus, it wasn't about putting cannons and get this nice flip. It's about getting it to travel and get distance. So we used just a wood ramp to flip the bus. Mike sat there and got some speed. We did it on a downhill, and it was all about getting this thing on its side and getting it moving. We really flipped it, then we really dragged it to an edge of a real cliff.
The bus that Paul is in is locked from the back. The only way he can get up is through the front of the bus, and now the bus is sliding towards the edge of a cliff, and it's dangling there, precariously about to fall off.
I have my rigging team there and Phil Collada doubling. So we have Phil over this 160-foot cliff, and he's inside the bus, which is on a rig, but he has to drop out and hang on the door and then crawl around the front of the bus to the top. And it's all practical. And as it drops, he has to be on the bus and time it. So he gets to the rear of the bus just as it drops away. So it's a one-take deal.
And he has to run across the roof and jump off just at the right time.
We pushed it to where it's going to start going over. He waited, and when it starts to tilt like that, he starts running. And he hit it absolutely perfect. He was right on the back corner of the bus as it drops 150 feet to the bottom, and now he's in the air, you know.
We obviously had all the safety you can do. He was cabled, but he was really running on it. It really went off a cliff, and then we really took the bus and dropped it off of another cliff that went on forever and ever.
It's a pretty outrageous, cool sequence that we did all practically, and a lot of different rigs, a lot of stunt work that took timing and a lot of skill. It looks so good.
We were
looking for a place where we could take our cars and jump from one building to the next. When we saw Abu Dhabi, the beautiful water, the beautiful dunes, and these incredible skyscrapers, we were like, okay, that's the place.
That skyline particularly became the backdrop for one of our even crazier action set piece, the Lycan driving between 3 buildings. To be able to do it there was amazing.
The whole idea behind this Lycan theft was that it had this one chip in it that they needed. And the car is being stored in the top of this enormous building. We were able to shoot that on stage and bring in 150 party members all dressed to the max in evening gowns and tuxedos.
You have no idea what level this party's about to go to.
Now let's figure out how to make this really interesting to the audience, because a car inside of a party usually just goes in and goes out the other side.
No one's ever seen this before. Time to unleash the beast.
So we came up with, hey, he's gonna make a lap around this whole entire party sequence. And you're going, whoa, where are they gonna go? What the hell are they gonna do? Are they gonna drive in an elevator and go down the elevator? You've got a lot of people in evening gowns and tuxedos and they can't move really fast. And they're on a marble floor. They drop their drinks, now there's liquid on the floor.
Ready, and action!
Then I got word from James Wan, who said, hey, I want Jason Statham to come in here and start firing a machine gun at the car. And I want Jason to jump over the top of the car. I want the car to hit him. So when they come flying in here, Dom pitches the car sideways and hits Jason Statham's character, and he goes over the top of the car and to the ground and then gets back up and starts shooting. Jason goes over the top, we hit the piano, we hit the bar, we hit everything we could hit in there. And at the same time, he's being shot at by a machine gun and shot at by these grenade launchers, and so columns are blowing up around the car. So now we've got all these different avenues that really spice it up.
Dom, cars don't fly!
He turns, and he just makes a beeline for the big glass window.
Oh, shit!
And goes blowing out this window, jumps through the air across to the next tower. To go out the windows was on a set piece that was out in a parking lot.
9 cameras going, we have 6 of them out here. We got 3 cameras inside.
We had 40 feet of trussing deck, and then the windows were built on that, and Dan put the car on one of his air mortars, and we would shoot it out of that window and into boxes.
Survive!
We would get the exit from one side and then get the entrance on the other side. And we did it multiple times for different buildings that we're supposed to go into. We built a set to land in at the Atlanta Convention Center.
Right there for the hit.
That second building, James wanted fairly empty, like it wasn't finished yet. Open walls with the aluminum 4x4 beams in it, just a lot of wires hanging down.
Effects is squib these windows, they'll be going hot, they're gonna blow the windows. These are breakaway aluminum frames. As the car comes through, all that's gonna break and go with the car.
I built ramps that were 3 feet tall, 120 feet long, and I had Steve Kelso drive it as fast as he could drive it, and drop off. He had about 5 or 6 feet between there and the window. So we could get him dropping as if he's dropping in, hitting, and then just slamming through everything that was in that second building.
Nice, all right.
When we were able to use those towers and we knew we could go farther, so we went from one building to the next, to the next.
And then we did another landing with a redressed interior, which now was art gallery.
I say car, you guys snap around, and you will see the car jumping through and then run right toward us. I've got real stunt people in there, all dressed up, very nicely like they're art gallery exhibitors and they're patrons, and they've got to move pretty fast. Well, they can't see the car. It's on a countdown, and so I say, we're going to say 3, 2, 1. Everybody has to be moving. You can't be thinking to move. You got to be moving because the car's coming in really fast. So that was the tough part.
3, 2, 1, car!
It lands, it goes out of control, and now Dan built a rig that spins as it goes across the floor. Dan Suda created this car that was on a complete rotating spindle, but would travel down the length of the set. So I could put my stunt doubles in there and film this car rotating.
as they're trying to bust the whole dash loose to get this circuit board out that contains the device that they want, and then they've got to dive out.
Got it! Get out!
This Lycan, very, very low to the ground, hard to get in and out of. So doing an action sequence and sitting way down inside the car and having to dive out of it is a whole different ballgame.
We've got to get 2 stunt doubles out of a spinning car, and we want the car to jump out the window all in one shot. So we tested it. We took the doors off and said, let's see if you guys can jump out of the spinning car, and we found out that if you don't jump out as it's starting to spin, the back tail end hits you. You're rotating in there, you don't really know where you are. So the stunt guys had to look for some kind of pinpoint area out on the set, and they said, when I see this come around, I know I have to go out. We said, okay, and action. Spun the car, and they all dove out in the perfect second. We went through the window, the car jumps out the other side. Then I got a message from James, and he said, oh, by the way, I want Vin's character to hang up on the edge. So I had to put that character on a cable and rotate the car in so that he could jump out of the car and not penetrate through the glass.
Then they dropped the car 60 feet just to the ground for the impact of it going out the next window with our heroes out of it. It actually came out pretty cool. A lot bigger than what it started to be.
And that's the great part about Fast, is that you don't ever say no. You're always trying to give the audience more than what they saw than the last one.
James Wan came to this franchise with a goal of making each fight feel special.
I grew up watching the movies that Jeff Amada had worked on, so to have him be with me on this film was a fanboy's dream come true.
You want to take the audience on that journey and see the highs and lows within the physical movements and the action.
One of the funnest things I've had the opportunity on this film to do was shooting the fight scene between The Rock and Statham.
You just earned yourself a dance with the devil, boy.
They're both trained, but yet Schaub can't necessarily fight toe-to-toe with Hobbs, who's just a little bit bigger than him, you know? So it was more about having the maneuverability, having some fast moves, being quick on his feet, and stay one step ahead of Hobbs.
It's a great blend of Jason showcasing his martial art technique and Hobbs's very straightforward, hardcore way of fighting.
One of the things we tried to infuse into the fight is a bit of the personality of the characters. We're trying to bring some of Dwayne's sort of signature moves into his fight moments and bring some of the things that Jason is so good at.
That's good.
Yeah. So that makes it much more immediate.
It was really enjoyable and great to work with Dwayne and Jason because they're both action guys. The three of us discussed the character traits and their movements and what both sides wanted to accomplish and what they felt was a good give and take of the action sequence.
We put together really this incredible fight scene that starts in my office and goes through other offices, but not through the door. We go through the windows, through the walls, and desks.
Dwayne, he's a monster of a man, and you stand in front of him and you just go, Jesus, thank God this is a movie. No one comes more schooled and skilled than Dwayne. To have that experience and have that real sort of laser point accuracy when he's throwing punches.
Big guy, he moves really well, really quick. He's got a lot of wrestling moves, obviously, and grappling moves.
Goddamn IT guys. Sometimes what works best is a punch right in the mouth.
Ready, and action.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to fight a lot of guys who have great reputations in terms of being Hollywood tough guys, and Jason Statham really takes the cake.
He's strong, powerful, fast. He's got great body mechanics, and there's more speed and timing involved because of his size.
It was very refreshing to bang it out with him, and it was very, very refreshing to create an incredible fight scene.
It was great.
The thing about Letty is, even though we see her in a dress for the first time in Furious 7, she's still Letty. which means if the situation calls for it, she's always ready to throw down. Even if it means going up against a character played by the current UFC and Strikeforce champ Ronda Rousey. It's kind of what I like to call the ultimate expression of girl power.
Guys, get out of there right now. You've got an army heading your way.
You gotta get out of there.
The girl fight from Fast 6 was such a talked about fight, and I knew I would have my work cut out for me.
Would you believe I knocked him out with my charm? There's not a lot of really great female fights. I definitely take it seriously when the opportunity comes.
Michelle is so dedicated. Sometimes we'd squeeze in 2 training sessions a day. This interesting challenge to introduce 3 women coming at her when they're fighting 3-on-1. So it was a constant bombardment of blows coming at Michelle's character. She wanted to take it a step higher on this film. When Rhonda got involved, she has very specific formal training, and the audience has probably seen her fight for real. She's playing a character, you want to see Rhonda's signature moves herself.
Thank God you showed up. These parties bore me to death.
Rhonda was very helpful in choreographing that fight. The fight never would have been done without Rhonda putting in that extra work. She helped with the choreography. She helped make Michelle Rodriguez comfortable.
She's awesome. She's so strong. She's having a conversation while I'm over her shoulders. I'm like, Rhonda, still here, you know. Oh, sorry. Puts me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
She's sick.
It's a super estrogen pumped all-female fight scene, and it's so unique and cool.
Finding out that they're in evening gowns and high heels was something that you don't see all the time.
Gown and high heels was definitely the challenge part, because you know I don't wear them often.
I think the trickiest thing for me was convincing her to do it in that really beautiful red dress.
My entire career has been spent in a tank top and jeans. How about we throw me in a dress? That I had my girly moment.
Good? Yeah, I got caught in a dress. This dress originally was just one solid thing all the way down. So we opened up these 2 slits right here so I could be able to, like, you know, pick a bunch of knees up and stuff.
The contrast of the environment they're in, they're so beautifully done up. To see them just go at it as hardcore as any of the guy fights. To me, I think the fight between the 2 of them brings that texture of reality to the fight that it kind of needed. It really brings an edge to the overall look.
Thought this was gonna be a street fight? You're goddamn right it is.
The final fight was about them both going at it hand to hand. When I had a discussion with James, the main thing that he wanted to have a really cool weapons fight with metal clash and clang together with pipes or wrenches.
It was a fight to the death. You got a train killer against Vin. You mess with Vin, you're messing with the guy that's gonna finish business.
In Dom's mind, he wanted to destroy Shaw with his bare hands.
I think why Deckard Short is such a compelling foe is because of what Jason Statham brings to it. He brings a sense of gravitas to that particular character, and he brings with it a sense of danger as well.
Dom's about getting a hold and throwing him around. Having basically a power move that would take him out.
This movie's full of testosterone, and I think the only way to get down and dirty It's let's do this man to man. That's the way that the audience want to see this go down.
I knew this was gonna be a pretty damn kick-ass fight between these two really cool, tough guys.
For the more physical face-offs, we had started training a month early, and it was definitely apparent that we were giving everything we got.
No matter how hard I get hit, even if it looks like I'm all the way over here, I'm hooked somewhere. I've got something. Every time he gives me a blow that puts me away, I'm back in. I'm always back in.
Finn definitely wants every film to be one notch better, every action piece to be one notch better than the last.
The scenes where we are intense with one another were not the most enjoyable scenes on the set because of tension that was present. Thank God we're friends in real life because the intensity that we had to feel against one another was so deadly.
I think what we ultimately came away with is something that I'm really proud of and is just super fun to watch.
All right, let's cut it.
Let me tell you something, man. Being the resident genius of our crew leads people to sometimes question Tej's ability to throw down when he needs to throw down. But I think I finally proved once and for all this package is brains and brawn, and I can whoop ass.
Okay, so this is how it works. We gotta move in sync if we're gonna pull this off.
Tej gets to finally let everybody know that he also knows some great martial arts, and I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people. I personally study a martial arts called 52 Blocks, or they call it Jailhouse Rock, and I was extremely happy to be able to implement that into this film.
I worked with him and choreographed stuff that would help showcase that and utilized his natural movements that he was comfortable with.
It's very fast, and it's a lot of knees, a lot of elbows, a lot of head, and continuous movement.
A few days of rehearsals and he had it down. We were going to bring him in for a week of training and get up in a day or two and had it dialed in.
Yeah, that's incredible.
When he's confronted, you figure that he's on the losing end, but on this one, he retaliates and takes somebody out very quickly.
You're really full of surprises.
Yeah.
So it not only surprised the characters that he's in the scene with, but it'll surprise the audiences too.
Chris had a ball doing it. Martial arts against brawn. So who's going to win? The tactician's going to win.
Just more and more surprises, and that's what I love the most about this franchise and about my character. People have no idea what I'm capable of.
Consider my workshop your new playhouse.
Everybody really equates the Fast and Furious franchise with cars.
I think you'll find our cars extremely appealing.
Not something I think the franchise has always delivered.
Action!
At this level, the franchise goes, cars are almost like characters unto themselves.
Dennis McCarthy's worked on the Fast and Furious forever, finding the best cars in the world.
I thought I was a car enthusiast, and I thought that I was a car fan. Just when you think you know it all, they come with a car that you've never heard of in your entire life.
I want the demon love child between that and that.
The off-road sequence, that's just kind of the main car we built for that. It was built from scratch, from the frame, the spindles, the A-arms, everything about the car is custom. It had to slide, it had to drift, do all the things that you would normally expect from a Fast and Furious car. Yet then it, breaks off into the dirt and it's going over jumps, over through whip-de-doos, down hillsides, pretty much everything you can think of. We started off with just some bare shell 1968 Dodge Chargers. The chassis is an 1 3/4 chrome alloy tube chassis, roughly based on a short course truck. It's almost a mid-inch of the motor set so far back in it. It's basically race truck suspension. It's running king shocks, coilovers, bypass shocks, howl rack and pinion. Chassis was from Armada Engineering, Method wheels, General tires, Mastercraft 3G seats, DG safety seat belts, pretty much all of the components you'd find on a real off-road race car. A lot of people involved in that project. To my knowledge, no one's ever built an off-road Charger before. It's hundreds of hours. It's the most labor-intensive car we've ever built. Probably my favorite car from the film. You see the cars, you automatically know which car fits which character.
Touchdown, baby!
Brian Subaru, it's obvious that, Brian likes the rally, the import cars.
Cars are like samurai swords. They're an extension of you. They're your personality. So we always try to do that. You know, Brian always gets a fast car, Dom always gets kind of the furious car.
Brian's in a car that's nimble handles, corners, does all that stuff the rally car should. So that was one of our easier cars to build because Subaru's pretty much come rally ready other than some suspension and roll cage and seats. Subaru was kind enough to give us 5 or 6 of those cars, which I don't think any are left, unfortunately. Tej seems to be about function. You know, Tej's character really knows, you know, what he needs to do to accomplish a job.
Tej, shield! I'm on the way!
I think the Jeep worked great because it was basically the battering ram.
Punch it!
He just basically cleared the path for the rest of the guys. That one actually did hold up well. I think we do have 3 out of 5 that still run, so that's pretty good.
Sir, we have an unidentified vehicle approaching.
Well, well, well. Welcome to the party, Mr. Shaw.
We wanted him in some type of fast attack vehicle. It's kind of a variation of some military vehicles, something that kind of fit his character. It performs well. It was a very equal match for Dom's car. We actually used the same chassis for both cars, so a lot of the parts were interchangeable, the same power plant, same transmissions. It was nice. If we tore a right corner off of one car and this car, you know, was dead, we could borrow parts and keep everything rolling. Roman's Camaro, 60, 67 Camaros, you know, one of my personal favorite cars.
Wow! Okay, what the?
I think the Camaro fits Roman's character. It's great. It's a rugged car. It takes a beating. It blows Shaw over at the end of the sequence. It worked great.
Guys, this first thing that we're gonna do, we have 4 cameras going, 3 cameras inside, 1 camera here with Billy.
So here we are in the penthouse suite, which is, in my mind, a set built to feature this car.
When the car hits the threshold, Oakley here is gonna fire quarter load.
When we started to talk about this scene, we looked at a lot of cars and we were like, what car could be so special that a prince would have locked up in a vault? And Dennis brought to us this car. He goes, there's only one problem. It's being made right now and I don't know if it can be done in time. And we're like, come on, Dennis, you got it. And Dennis came through, got us this car.
What's behind me here is the W Motors Lycan Hypersport.
You guys know all to clear and start your action as the doors are being blown, right?
It's twin turbo, 240-mile-an-hour top speed, sells for about $3.4 million.
Lots of debris going this way, so you guys watch your eyes.
What's unique about this car, makes it perfect for this location in our film, is it's the first United Arab Emirates-based supercar.
The Lycan is one of the most exclusive cars in the world, limited to only 7 ever made. It has a flat 6-cylinder, 3.8 liter, twin turbo, mid-engine, producing 770 horsepower, 1,000 torque. It's one of the fastest cars in the world. The lights of the car are made of white gold, diamonds, and blue sapphire. You can choose the stone that you want depending on the color of the car. So it's really incredible to have the lights light up with precious stones.
This is the first film that Dom is caught in a car like that. It's extreme circumstances that force him to get behind the wheel of a car that couldn't be more the antithesis of this beast here.
I think story-wise now, since Dom was planning on being retired, he used some of his spare time to rebuild another Charger. That car's really like a cast member of the film, so it has to keep coming back.
That was awesome.
We don't really deviate too much on that car since it was originally introduced in the very first movie. I mean, every movie we try to, make some subtle changes, some subtle improvements.
It is still there for him, and I'm blessed to be associated with the most iconic car in history. The audience has its own relationship to this Charger. When you see it, you have a visceral reaction. That's an interesting and cool feeling.
round 2 of Chicken. Shaw comes back in an Aston Martin DB9, which is another car that really just seemed natural. We featured his brother in an Aston Martin in London, so family car.
Call me a snob, but why not? He's a Brit. Put him in a British car. I mean, Toretto drives the muscle cars, they're flying the flag in that way. It's a character thing.
This is our team coming back to LA. They're coming home, so you really want to put them in the cars where it started. The G-Tyre we built for Brian, we'll try to not go over the top, keep it classy, but just, minor changes, wheels, tires. The variable ride height was another aspect. I think the funniest car of the whole batch is Roman's car. Because when you think back to Roman's introduction, he's driving an old Monte Carlo in a demolition derby. So we just went with an old cop car, an old four-door box style.
I wasn't happy about that choice.
It looked cool, it looked great.
I think the car is ugly.
Gave it a little NASCAR flair, manual 4-speed transmission.
It's taken away from my sex, I got through it. I went to see my therapist about it. I think I'm gonna be okay.
So in the very end of the film, we have a very meaningful scene where we have Dom and Brian side by side. Brings us back to the very first Fast and Furious, where Dom's in a Charger and Brian's in a Supra. For this sequence, I actually talked to Paul's friends and family and was able to borrow Paul's personal white Toyota Supra. I can't think of any better car to put it into this movie than that. And then for Dom, it has to be a Charger. It obviously has to be the coolest Charger that I can find. So last year at the SEMA show, it was unfinished, but the Maximus Charger was there just in raw steel, and it was just that raw steel look that really caught my eye. And then once we got a closer look at the car, you can see the work that's gone into it. So made a deal, got the car out here, and once again, like everything in our world, last minute, the car wasn't completed. They were doing everything they could on their end to complete it. I think they had 12 guys working around the clock. It has probably the most horsepower and the biggest rear tires of any Charger I've ever seen. And it exceeds like 2,000 horsepower, so fit just perfect. In the end, it's all worth it, because to have that Charger and that Supra lined up in this film, I think, is a meaningful moment for the fans of the Fast and Furious franchise.
At the premiere of Fast and Furious 6 in California, I promised the world that we would return to where it all started, and this is where it all started. They say an open road helps you think about where you've been, where you're going.
For this particular film, it's important from the context of the story that for where the characters ultimately need to go, we need to start from a place of familiarity.
You don't remember any of this yet.
It's not fair. I don't.
Dom is trying to jog Letty's memory, to fill in the gaps. I mean, she's having a real hard time. She's really struggling.
So what is it exactly that you're trying to show me?
That.
And they come over the hill, and Race Wars has now become this huge event. Whereas in number 1, it was this small kind of underground thing.
How's it going, bro?
What's up, man? Welcome to Race Wars.
To start the movie with Race War was a great signature way of saying, we're taking these guys back to where they started.
We used to come here?
Come here. We invented it. When you see them at Race Wars, you are reminded of where they started, and you're reminded what their initial interests were.
We're basically doing it like the original Race Wars, but bigger. More cars, more girls, motorcycles, you know, metal militia, dirt bike guys doing backflips. We have drifting, and of course the drag racing. So it's like Race Wars, but times 10. There's just a sea of cars, somewhere around 300 cars. It's great because at a scene like Race Wars, all the support equipment that we actually bring fits right into the scene, so you don't have to hide anything.
I think that the race culture has grown, as has the world of Fast and Furious. They've kind of grown together, and both have kind of helped each other grown to a bigger plateau.
Action, Vin.
Keep it under 9,000 RPMs.
You know that's not my style. I gotta ride or die, right?
How about you just ride on this one?
She's driving her Cuda. We have several Barracudas, obviously. Most of our stunt cars use our fuel-injected power plant, you know, modern power, Brembo brakes, you know, coilover suspension. Everything's been modernized underneath the skin of the car.
The kind of loyal audience that has been tracking this movie for a decade and a half was yearning to return to their reality of 15 years ago. And this was the perfect vehicle to say, we are now at Race Wars.
You don't even understand how it feels for me, 14 years later, to be pulling back in reverse with the crowd of extras who are all obviously fans, because there's no way that you cannot be a fan of the franchise and be screaming in 110-degree weather while the sun is bearing down on you take after take, and be showing love. I can see it in their eyes when they're going, woo, woo. It's 14 years of history, and it's like an appreciation, and it's kind of like them saying thanks, you know? Mitch for representing, and I'm like, yeah.
That's the girl I heard so much about. Where you been at? Ghost girl.
I've been watching Fast and Furious since it first came out, and when I'm traveling, it's kind of like my go-to plane series, one of those movies that you can just watch all of them again and again and again. So to think back to me being a kid and going to the cinema and watching this film with my friends, now to getting to come on the set and be a part of it, it's surreal. It's really cool.
Everybody really wants to be a part of this franchise, because even though the franchise has grown from just kind of an underground race car movie to a much bigger heist movie, then a huge action movies, globetrotting, we've always tried to stay organic and give the people who are our fans from the very beginning something to come back to in each film.
Lefty, what the hell? 7 movies later, here I am back again, and I'm speechless, I'm caught off guard, I'm excited, and I don't even got the word for it, so it's a blessing, you know what I mean, to be back.
What was yours originally?
I just said, yeah, your girl could swing, dog, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, damn, your girl still got that swing, or something like that.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
the race wars we did 15 years ago where she punched somebody? Yo,
no, that might be better, because it brings it back to part
Play with
one.
that.
Yeah,
Play with something that brings us back to part 1.
Damn, dog. Girl still got that swing, homie. Mad love to my boy Vin, man. It's on and cracking. We back Fast and the Furious Part 7.
It was a really surreal moment, because I remember doing those scenes, and I remember all of the fans out loud reciting lines from the first one with a certain kind of reverence and regard. And even though it's just a movie could have a positive effect on a culture, and they can adopt it as their own. And it was a very gratifying moment to be back at Race Wars. It's more than a movie. It's now a ride. Fast and Furious Supercharged. What we did here today, we have never done before. This was new territory for us. Although we've been living with these characters for 15 years, It was new territory to create something immortal like this, something as immersive as this, that all the fans of our franchise can actually live through and be a part of.
You ready, kid?
You know, Fast and Furious is just an epic adventure, you know? It's perfect for a theme park ride. We can put people right into the middle of the action of this franchise. It's just, you know, exciting as can be.
If there's any reason that the Fast and Furious franchise lends itself to becoming a ride, it's because it's always trying to top its action. If the last movie had great stunt work off of highways and tanks in it, then you could probably expect flying cars in the next one.
It's become part of our culture, and to have any small part in that is incredibly validating.
It was really a ride waiting to happen. When you think about the films, it feels like you're on a ride, on a thrill ride.
Well, I'm amazed that it hasn't been made into a theme park ride earlier than it has. When you watch the movies, you do feel this power of speed, adrenaline pumped action. So it just seems like a perfect theme for a ride.
When you have something as unique and as special as the Fast and Furious franchise, want to create an experience for the fans that they can only feel and experience at Universal Parks.
This was really ambitious. The rides normally are fantastical, and you don't feel a part of those worlds. You feel a part of this world even without the ride. So once you go to the ride, that's an opportunity to physically feel some of the adrenaline that we feel every day while we're filming.
Fast and Furious is a key puzzle piece in the epic transformation of Universal Studios Hollywood. It has everything that we want. It's exciting, it's got heart, it's got great character, and it is just the perfect piece to bring to the studio tour.
You're in Hollywood already. You're able to get on this tram and experience your favorite movie sets and TV show sets. That's a big deal. When we're about to wrap up Fast 7, we all moved to a blue screen lot. We waved at least 25 trams that day, and it's our pleasure.
Dude, it's so cool, the studio tour. I'm like thinking of all the years of going to Universal Studios that I have in my reserve since I'm a little kid to now. You know, it's crazy out there. You guys ride hard. Respect.
What we wanted to do was give those tram guests the experience as if they've actually driven into a Fast and Furious film.
Hobbs needs our help. He needs our team.
Imagine yourself, flying down the street next to Vin Diesel, and it's just unbelievable.
At Universal Studios, we've entered a whole new era of immersive rides and attractions. In this case, for Fast and Furious, we've collaborated with the actual cast from the films, and that was the only way to really be authentic. We're actually on the set of Fast and Furious Supercharged with this incredible cast of the Fast and Furious and all those cars and everything you can imagine.
Don't think you're getting away!
So you can imagine if you try to shoot an experience like we're creating here of driving through the streets of LA at 120 miles an hour with the actors and the cars and special effects, that it would be impossible to shoot.
Shooting a ride film is so different than any movie I've ever done. This action is completely different than anything in the movies. Bigger to a certain degree, because the audience on the trams actually experiences it rather than watching it on a movie screen. I'm not saying that the movies are not action-packed, but this experience, far bigger.
The other part of that is to work and collaborate with MPC, the visual effects house that's worked on the films themselves, who are so familiar with the action and the visual effects that made the franchise so successful, and place you, the guests, in the middle so you can experience all that.
This is our turf. Move!
You're completely immersed in the experience. So you're on a high-speed chase, you know, and you're being threatened, you're being shot at. It's an amazing experience, and the guys that build these things are just true magicians.
They're gonna have the heat of fire flying at you. It's really a sensory-driven experience, so I can't wait to see what happens.
More than anything, it's a testament to that loyal and dedicated fan community that has always been our #1 champions.
The Fast and the Furious has the best fans in the world.
I think it's really cool. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been this character for 14 years. You know, Letty's been in my life, so it's fairly easy for me to just step in, be her, and encounter whatever Universal throws at me.
Hell of a job, everybody. You protected the witness and you could resume breathing. It is one big family, so to be able to come together, create a ride like this, enjoy the experience, and look, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's one of the coolest parts of our job.
You know, it's been a real thrill for me to be able to direct all this action and work with this incredible talent, and it requires an incredible team to put it together, and I feel really privileged to have been able to direct this.
Roll video, roll camera, please.
Yeah. I'm happy when they're happy.
Action.
Well, I think to be immortalized in a ride is a very cool thing. I mean, who am I kidding, right? It's cool.
I know that every day I wake up, and not only do I live in LA, where Hollywood is, but I'm a part of these movies. It's a very big deal. I'm very humbled by it, and I'm very honored to be a part of it, and I just hope I never let anyone down.
We've been shooting for a year, so none of us were really expected to enjoy this so much. You guys have all been so wonderful that it has been truly enjoyable for us. So from the Fast family, we thank you all so much for making this as magical as it is and being as wonderful as you have been. I'm excited to ride it, man. Come on, baby.